Okay.
So I will officially call the meeting to order.
hold on a
I'm
second. Hold on
seeing
a second.
7 o'clock.
Hold on a second. Let me start the recording before you officially call it.
Okay.
You going, Rich?
Yes.
Okay. Action.
I will officially call the Jamaica Select Board meeting for May 11th to order at 7 o'clock. Welcome, everybody. First item is to call for any late additions to the agenda. I actually have one. There is an overweight permit, and I'm going to suggest that we move item 9, which is the Communication Union District, up higher in the list, and then also move the paving bid up higher in the list, just because we've got some extra players on for those. So I'll put. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
I'd like to plug the Jamaica Journal at some point, but I could do that in public concerns, or I can do it after everything, just to kind of give an update.
Okay, so we'll add the Jamaica Journal update from Tom down at item 14. We'll add the overweight permit at 15, and we'll move the Communication Union District up to number 5, and we'll open the paving bids at number 6. To be real official. Okay, so first item then after that on the agenda to approve the minutes from our last meeting, the April 27th Select Board meeting. Do I hear a motion or any?
I'll make a motion.
First motion by Tom. The second.
I'll second the motion.
Any comments, any changes? Hearing none, I will move that we approve the meeting. All in favor? The minutes, I mean. Got aye. I see all 5 boards' hands goes up, so minutes are approved. We will, Terry did send out an update with all the timesheets, the select board orders on the Google Drive. I don't know if anybody has any comments on those, if they want to share right now. If we don't have any, I will officially sign off on those tomorrow as we've voted our new remote protocol. But any comments on those? Any questions? All good? Yeah, great. Yeah, they all look good to me too. Okay, so on to, that was numbers 3 and 4. On to number 5, which is now the, I think I moved the CUD up to that location, if I can remember 5 minutes ago. So on the phone here, we have Stephen John, who's, I guess, correct me as far as titles go, but the head honcho, basically.
No. Vice Chair, Greg, hold it down.
Vice Chair of the Deerfield Valley Communication Union District, which has been formed already. His title also, I believe, are you the chair of the Marlboro Select Board also?
No, I am moderator of the town of Marlboro, but I am the chair of the Developmental Review Board there, and I am the chair of the Marlboro Committee for Universal Broadband, which preceded the CUD by years.
Okay, and we have Betsy on the line. She's the representative for the town of Stratton, which is also a member of the CUD. And then also Chris Robbins, who is soon, I mean, as part of this topic, he's been kind of acting as our head, and
yeah,
we will
can you wave, Chris?
Put him in there as our representative.
Oh yeah, okay, good. I recognize you now. Yeah. Okay.
So I will, if you don't mind, Chris, I'll turn this over to you just as a quick update of where we're at, and then maybe have Stephen jump in as far as, I know our board has been going back and forth a little bit and just trying to familiarize ourselves with the process. Also, you know, all the state statutes that pertain as far as moving in and moving out, and also, you know, with the Wyndham Regional moving to develop a business plan for this too.
I became aware that the Deerfield CUD was had been formed and was proceeding to look at possible contractors and business options for implementing a broadband system in parallel with the WRC study to develop a business plan. And Sue Westa of the WRC encouraged us to look into joining the Deerfield CUD. That's the issue. Do we want to join the Deerfield CUD or wait to see what the WRC comes up with, when they finish their business plan sometime in July? In conversations with both Stephen and Sue Westa, they but made it very clear that they're working together, and the WRC and the Deerfield CUD anticipate that the two are going to emerge, and there's really going to be one CUD if they have their way, I should say. There'll be one CUD for the entire Wyndham region. And so the issue is, do we want to join now? Do we want to wait and see what happens? I guess there is some possibility, I don't think it's very great, that a second CUD would form in the Wyndham region, but in all probability, the Deerfield CUD is going to expand town by town until everybody in the Wyndham region that's going to join has joined. So the issue before you is to join now or wait and see what happens. The argument for joining now is the sooner we're members, the more we'll have to say about how it's formed, what its bylaws are, and his business plans. I guess the argument for waiting is, it's just a new idea, and we need to think about it a little bit and see what else might happen. There is an off-ramp. This was one of the questions that I asked both Stephen and Sue West is, if we join now and then for some reason regret the decision and want to get out, we can. You can join. If you join now, we join by vote of the select board, and we can leave by vote of the select board. And if we do before they make any financial obligations, it's just that we leave. After financial obligations are undertaken, then there's a clause in the statute that says the board of the CUD can impose fair and equitable conditions on our leaving. That does not, repeat not, involve any tax obligations to the town or our taxpayers. So, that's about where the matter rests right. Oh, there's one other condition to join, or two other conditions to joining. We have to appoint a representative and two alternatives to the board. And I have some ideas who I might ask, but I haven't mentioned it to anybody yet, except you, Greg. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is we have to make 2 sites available for leasing to the CUD for equipment that they might want to place in the town. And that most likely would be switching cabinets to connect to the Consolidated's line, or perhaps an antenna if they end up downloading from a satellite. So there it is. If I missed anything, I guess Stephen could talk better to where the Deerfield CUD is in plans.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Chris. So just to backtrack a little bit, there really isn't any competition between WRC and the Deerfield Valley CUD. What really the history was that 5 towns or so got together, not including Marlboro originally, but and met like informally about the problems with the internet. and that was called the Deerfield Valley Group at that time. They didn't really have any officers. They didn't didn't have anything official. Ann Manwaring kind of moderated the meetings, and vendors showed up. I mean, lots of people showed up. It was kind of a mixed. It was an interesting, evolving group. But that led to a commitment to bring to the 5 towns, Marlboro, Wilmington, Whitingham, Reedsboro, and Halifax, an article at the town meeting in March. That's how the CUD got formed, because actually all those votes went pretty much unanimously, certainly at Marlboro, and to form a CUD. So then, shortly thereafter, April 9th actually, was when those 5 towns met, their 5 representatives. One thing about this governance board is it's 1 vote for each town. So, Jamaica, no matter when they join, they got equal play with the rest of the towns. So those 5 towns actually adopted a mission statement and a vision statement and bylaws and elected officers. They didn't do that though. First, the first item of business was that Stratton, Betsy's there, and let's see, I'm losing it now. Betsy, tell me. Stratton and Wardsboro wanted to join. So certainly they were. That was immediately approved. The theory of the CUD is that the more towns you have involved, the more potential customers you can serve, the better critical mass you have. And the reason why all of these little towns don't have any service is because we don't have enough takers to make private enterprise tempted to build. So then we had 7 towns now. That's what we're standing at now. Now, when we have our annual meeting tomorrow, which is required by law every year on May 12th, the CUDs have to have an annual meeting. And so there are actually 2 towns that are want to join, and we'll probably approve them. I don't see any reason why not to tomorrow. And that's I'm losing it here. It's Stamford, which is interesting. Stamford's way down past Reedsboro there, and Dover. Dover's critical because that's a good geographical connection to pull us all together. Certainly, Betsy's happy about that. And up in Stratton. So the WRC, we were asked, all as towns, you probably as a select board approved this application of the WRC for a grant, for a big broadband innovation grant. This was way back last December or something. The grant was given out. And my town, Marlboro, applied for one too. We didn't get it, but the WRC got it, and they hired a consulting team, and that's who's producing a feasibility study that will be out hopefully tomorrow. It'll be submitted to the Public Service Department and for comment, and then we'll get it out to all the towns in the regional area for their comment, and certainly it'll be a point of discussion at our meeting tomorrow. People haven't seen this document yet, but it is 38 pages long. It's pretty thorough. It approaches some of the aspects that Chris was referring to regarding a business plan. And it's very clear in this feasibility study that Windham County is not big enough to support two consolidated communications union districts. So it is true, Chris, that eventually, at least as far as WRC is concerned, they'd like to see, all the region pulled together. But in fact, the first towns that should be served are those that have the least service, that have the most unserved areas. And that's actually coincidentally the 5 towns that originally, no, not Wilmington, but except for Wilmington, the other towns are all on the, pretty much at the top of the list of unserved across the state. That's enough of an introduction. We do have we will appoint tomorrow a treasurer, so we'll begin to get the finance committee together and work on, exploring what the means are to get sufficient capital to actually start to get going. Once we have something going and it's sustainable 2 to 3 years, then you can qualify for revenue bonds as a municipality. This entity is really considered a municipality under the law. So as a town, Marlboro could not borrow money to build a fiber optic infrastructure as a capital expense because it wasn't considered essential by the law. Only fire, sewage, water, your town office. So this municipality, a CUD is unique because as a municipal entity, we can go to the municipal bond market and borrow money on a revenue bond basis. It's a little bit harder to get the capital, and that has to come from other sources. So that's the challenge we face. It's not a road paved to it's not a paved road to heaven or whatever, but it's better than working on this alone. That's my thinking. Thanks for listening.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I think those are kind of I guess I'm maybe summarizing a little bit from some of the comments. But I think for me, my concern is that we want to go earlier than later, I would think. Me personally, I'm speaking for myself. But jumping in too early, I think we're a little, I say we, again, me, worried that we wouldn't be able to get back out if Wyndham Regional then moved forward and we said, no, that's really the right opportunity, because these things are both moving on parallel tracks, but when these tracks come together, can we make sure we can jump on the other train?
Yeah. So the feasibility study is done by this grant with the Wyndham Regional Commission and has to, by the terms of the grant, cover the whole county or the whole Wyndham Regional. Now, interestingly, Stanford's already joined us, and they're not actually, they may be in there, I'm not sure, but they're definitely in Bennington County. So there really isn't a distinction there. And there isn't any distinction for a CUD regarding borders between towns. You could have a neighborhood in a town that's served where the rest of the town that already has cable, they don't care. They don't need it over there. But you're right about joining now, because now we're deciding and interviewing vendors. Not that we have anything to propose to them, but we're trying to learn what it is that they can do for us and to what extent we do individual contracting for the various stages, like engineering, pole study, and then construction, and then management. This CUD doesn't want to have any employees, doesn't want to, it doesn't want to be a business itself. So like the most successful cut up north, EC Fiber, we have to contract or have a relationship with these various vendors. It's going to end up being a private-public partnership, probably. But we would like to maintain as much control and not have dictated to us what we can get and what we can't get by big corporations such as Comcast or CCI or whoever else is providing service for people. So this is a good time to get in, but it's always a good time to get in. And it's if it's not satisfactory, you get out. That's the way I rationalize it with Marlboro.
Yep. Paul, you had your hand up. Comments?
I have my hand up because I couldn't find the button.
Okay.
Couple of questions. Question number one, you said earlier, you alluded to the fact that if we join the CUD,
yeah,
prior to any financial decisions being made, we can bail. After the financial decisions have been made, then you vote us out, or you have to come up with some sort of a plan to, I guess I'm not even sure to cover the decisions made, the financial decisions. What is that all about?
Well, the law is trying to be very complete and very clear about protecting the taxpayer from any liability if the whole situation goes bankrupt. Okay, say we take out money and we can't pay it back because we don't have enough customers. Okay, but it's very clear the way that law protects any of the members, citizens or taxpayers of the towns that are members of the CUD from any liability at all. So the only thing that can happen, and what you say, what happens to the assets? Well, the assets get distributed by the judge of the bankruptcy court or whatever, whatever assets there are, which at that time may be some physical fiber or maybe some work that's been done. But the way any borrowing gets paid back is by a fee, a user's fee. in addition to what the ISP would charge. So for example, if I'm paying $75 for internet right now, I would pay 85, you know? I mean, I'm just quoting how there's a little margin there. And then that money's collected from all the takers and is the means to guarantee the bond will be repaid over 10, 20 years.
And that was,
25.
and that's solely coming from that user fee on the individual user.
Right, that's it. Yep. And that's what EC Fiber's been doing up north too. There's no, you know, there's been no liability or any default on payments or anything happening up there with, I think they're up to 27 towns there now in that group.
All right, so that fee would then be deposited into the CUD.
No, well, just
Develop a-
transferred. It just,
Transferred.
yeah, just transferred directly to the bond payment. Yeah.
Okay.
And, you know, initially you won't have enough to make it, but that has to be one of the understandings about the bond, about the loan, right? And we can't go forward until we have enough takers, of course, to
Of course.
support that.
Let me ask you a technical question that you may not want to answer right now because I'm not sure there is one. I had a conversation today or the other day, I lose track, about the actual, the geography and the physics of running fiber optics up, say, the Deerfield Valley and then over the pass into Falling 100 down this way, or coming up the West River on Route 30. And it seems to me, with what little I know about the way you've got signal loss and that sort of thing with fiber optics, it's certainly cheaper than copper wire, but nonetheless an expense. So would we not presume that the physics and the geography would be more, let's say, it seemed to me a little bit more practical to run up the West River instead of going up Route 100 through the Deerfield Valley. Now, you're saying that this CUD, you're talking about the entire Wyndham. So it's going to be priced out at the entire county as opposed to individual feeder lines.
No, you can only base it on what you have. I mean, we can't project whether other towns will join or not. So we're in the planning stage, depending on what our area is that we're trying to cover.
Mhm.
And you're correct. In the feasibility study to be released tomorrow, there is an idea about incrementally how you build out in the most efficient way, and how you you don't go to the towns. For example, Wilmington would not be one of the first towns to be built because they have so much cable there. You know, there's no sense sending a fiber over the same place that a cable is serving people,
Right.
unless the reason for that fiber is to get to Stratton or to get to Wardsboro. So, and the other thing that, you know, I didn't know about till this last month of interviewing vendors is that one of the keys is how do we get connected to the rest of the world?
Yes. That's
And,
another question.
and there are these really large, what I'd describe as large, they aren't that large, but they're fiber cables that have a lot of fiber in them. You know, they have 14 tubes of fiber in each, and each tube has 12 fibers. So, you know, the group up at 27 towns, they only lease out about 48 fibers for the whole shooting match. So you don't have to have much, but we're very lucky right here in one way, and that is that we have fiber going across Windham County to Bennington that's already pre-installed. That is what they call available unused fiber.
From where?
Velco owns one of them. Velco is the Vermont electric, anyway, it's something that the state put together to hook up all the electrical facilities in the state so that they could communicate with each other and maintain our power. Basically, Green Mountain Power has most of the control over that. In our region down at Whitingham, there's Jacksonville Electric too, co-op. But so, by the way, that's the Green Mountain Power takes care of their poles there down there. But anyway, another one is Consolidated Consolidated Communications Incorporated. They're running a fiber across Route 9 as well. Belco's goes across Route 9 and then goes down towards Stamford 2 and over to Bennington. Then there's another one. The most promising for us is really First Light, which is who bought SoberNet. And if anybody's on a school board when I was working at that time, they know that we supported 19 million being spent to put in fiber to connect all the libraries and schools. And that is the backbone that is still there, that is underutilized by any of our towns in terms of residential access. We don't have residential access. But that's the most promising thing and would determine what you're pointing to there as to what's the most efficient and effective way to connect and the cheapest way. You know, who's going to, this is, you know, this stuff is out to bid. Who's going to give us the best price?
Where is this? Now you say it's running across Route 9 to get to Brattleboro. That makes it sound to me like it's coming from the Albany area. Is that accurate?
You go, well, Albany, Keene, Boston, Montreal, those are all the big, you know, hub centers. They call them carrier hotels.
All right. So there's one in Keene to use.
Yeah.
There are. We don't have to go all the way to Albany. We could come out of Keene.
Springfield, Mass. There's one.
All that level of stuff's going to come out of
Yeah.
the feasibility plan and the business plan and all that, and really not so much our worries, so to speak. I mean, if it doesn't make sense to move forward, even once we're part of this, then it just dissolves.
Right, but just to point out, that's the responsibility of the board to oversee this and make the judgment call on those things and direct the action to happen. See, that's why it's important to have a, you know, very capable representative from every town involved.
Okay, yep.
And it helps to have a local committee to support that person, or at least give sounding board for that person. So when they're coming to vote, they're representing the town adequately. Thanks.
Yeah, Chris,
Yeah, I just wanted to add, I think Consolidated has fiber running up Route 30 through
Yeah.
Jamaica and up Windham Hill
They-
Road too.
Yeah, if you're getting any consolidated service, it has to be through fiber that's connected to these nodes they have, these stations they have, and then they distribute by copper wire out from there.
Yeah,
So they have fiber coming through our towns. They just don't want to put in the money to, at least so far, they haven't put in the money to do something with it.
exactly.
Maybe I give Chris a chance, Betsy a chance to say something about Stratton's interest in this and why they decided to join. Unmute yourself there.
I did. Sorry, I was
There you go.
clicking on the wrong button. Hi, everybody. So, like everybody else, and as I'm on the West Jamaica, off the West Jamaica Road, and actually I'm trying to sell a house in Jamaica right now, and internet is one of the contingencies, and it's 3 megs, and it's not enough, and it might kibosh the deal. And it's really important. And I do think I've been involved in listening to this, challenge with internet for years, and have seen what EC Fiber was successful to do. So convincing our townspeople who are just suffering without internet, other than those who are on the mountainside, we've all learned since March 15th when we got a stay-home order how important it is. And we need to come together with all the towns. And there are, as Stephen John said, it's not necessarily Windham County. We need to overlap, so we need to get Winhall, the Jamaica side, to jump on, because there's folks in Winhall who only have Consolidated. And, I've always been told by the field engineers who are out fixing my box today here in Stratton that, until it's, a federal mandate, we're not going to get it fixed. And we all got excited when we saw the governor, announce that the state is going to, put some funding towards this, but we have to stay focused with our CUD to make sure we get, some of those fundings, or, do it ourselves, because we know what happened last time with VTEL, and, so much of it stays up north and it doesn't get its way down here. And we have to. Game is over. We are relying on internet more than ever. It's more of a public utility right now than our telephones are. So, I'm hoping that Townsend will jump on. I'm hoping that Newfane will jump on. I think people are challenged because they don't know the details, and they're reading the paper thinking now that the state's going to deal with it. And we can't rely on that. So.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I think our board and certainly the people we've talked to, I may have lost my internet connection. So
No,
you
you're
guys
good.
can still hear me?
Oh, you're good.
Okay. It's telling me I'm going in and out, but anyways, I'm sorry. I think certainly our board is very committed in realizing this is important. We're trying to just maneuver through here to figure out our best mode forward. Just as kind of presented now, do we wait and see what comes out of the Wyndham Regional, or do we jump on an existing CUD with, an understanding that they're not really competing, they're both trying to figure out the same solution. So that's, that's kind of where we're at.
I mean, you could certainly wait after, seeing the feasibility study and see how that influences your opinion about what the time is to, get involved or not get involved. We do meet monthly. The board is committing to monthly meetings the third Wednesday of the month, despite tomorrow being Tuesday. That's an annual meeting required by law. So there are going to be probably some more meetings, because we, at least those members we have up to now, feel like we can't afford to just sit around and wait on this thing. We got to be ready to go. There's an auction, a reverse auction of serving our towns offered by the government, federal government. And there's an emergency plan that is being issued by the Public Service Department, asked for comments as we speak, to connect people because of the emergency needs. We realize we're inadequate serving during this COVID. So there are lots of things going on this summer. This is, wouldn't be the time to think, well, we'll wait till the fall and things will come back. I just urge you to stay tuned. And whenever you decide, just all you need to do is take the vote and appoint a representative with at least one alternate, and whatever the next meeting is we have, we'll probably have no questions about approving at this point. We don't have any of these complications that someone else referred to about what if you have arrangements or contracts and stuff. Well, that's not,
we're not there.
Not an issue.
Yep. Chris, yep.
Stephen, you mentioned paperwork that had to be submitted to you. Would you explain that?
Well, look, if you vote tonight to come in, I'll make a motion to accept your membership pending the completion of the certification. You have to have there's a form that the select board has that can make this appointment about the representative, and then that is sent by our clerk, David Jones of Halifax, is our clerk secretary, and he sends it up to the PSD and the Secretary of State, and then then we're official. And but as I said, I've already figured out, we did this before with somebody else, Betsy. I don't really remember, but it was some town didn't have all their paperwork in.
Wardsboro.
Wardsboro. Yeah.
Wardsboro.
Yeah. And that's perfectly fine. And so you're a voting member as soon as that happens, as far as we're concerned. And of course, then we want you to pull part of the wagon too. So
yeah,
there'll be some tasks to do or something to work on. So.
Tom commented in the chat I just saw about the money's up at the government, and that's our point, is that we want to make sure that we get a piece of that pie. And I think if we just sat back and waited, it's going to end up all in Burlington. The number to bring fiber to this state is huge. What's the 283 million or something? I forget the number.
Magellan study estimated that.
Yeah, I mean, the number's huge, and we can't just let this be decided up in Montpelier, because
if we're ready to go, and we'll grab some attention. Yeah,
that's right. That's it, Greg.
Yeah, Andy, did you have your hand up, Andy? Do you have a comment or?
Not to put Chris on the spot, but I was wondering what he thinks we as a board should do.
I'd say go sooner rather than later. I mean, if it goes south, we can always get out. So I don't see what really there is to lose, and there's a lot to gain.
Yeah, I just don't see there being a lot of risk here. If we can get out, what's the risk? We go in and we see how it is, and if it's not working for us, we get out. I mean, that doesn't seem to be a lot of risk there. Whereas the downside is if we don't get in, we're not getting out of the table and we're not making decisions, right?
Right.
Input.
Wearing my Marlboro hat, I feel very confident that I got to be on this team to make it work with the CUD. If it doesn't work, we got to get out. The whole thing falls apart. You can't afford to have towns leave, so you got to be taking care of your customers.
Yeah, and if we can learn a lot from this and make a stronger case and form the leading CUD, if you want to call it that, in Windham County, then everybody will be joining into this. So I mean,
That's certainly,
I mean, I agree that I don't think there's a whole lot to lose, and we can benefit by being in the beginning.
I don't see how there's going to be a way to have another CUD within Windham County. In our meetings, we've also talked about Bennington and Windham actually consolidating
Sure.
buying power and making one just Southern Vermont CUD. It's just they're focused on getting their members, and eventually we may all be just one, so that we overlap and provide the best service to all of Southern Vermont.
Yeah, and I didn't mean that there were two of them out there. I was referring that if another one, if Windham Regional thought it best that they start one and then everybody jumps onto that one versus.
yeah,
I mean,
They don't
but
want to.
not that there
that
would be.
won't happen. That won't happen.
They don't want to.
That
They
won't
like us
happen.
doing the volunteer work.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think unless there's other comments, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion for Town of Jamaica to join the Deerfield Valley CUD.
Second the motion.
Second, Jessica. Any other comments or questions? All in favor? Say aye. Any opposed? Looks unanimous. Thank you. Yeah, so we'll, and then the next part of this, I guess maybe Steve's getting to it, is
Yeah.
we need to appoint a representative.
Well, but also just be clear that your minutes show that you voted to join the Deerfield Valley Communications Union District. That's the official name
Okay.
as far as the state's concerned.
Right.
And then you're right. The next step would be to just and you can indicate this or send it by email. It's okay. I mean, Betsy and I will certainly attest to your.
Yeah, well, I know
There's some paperwork.
Chris has expressed interest and a desire to be our representative, and I would like to propose that we nominate Chris to be our representative.
Absolutely.
I'll second that.
Second from Paul. All in favor of that? Aye, aye. Unanimous. Any opposed to? Unanimous. Thank you, Chris. And then I guess you had mentioned also, Chris, I mean, there's some potential people that would make sense to be our alternates, but I'm not sure we're prepared to announce any of those now or ask it.
I'd like to ask him first.
Exactly.
That's why.
That's what I mean.
Before you go on camera.
So Chris, you're going to be available tomorrow at 5?
At 5? Yeah, I'll be there.
Okay, so I'll try to make sure that yeah, I got your email. So I'll try to make sure you get the link. We do the same. We meet the same way, just like this. Only it's maybe a few more people.
Okay.
But, that's by Zoom. And thank you very much for your time. And
Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Betsy.
We just
Thank
gotta
you.
we just gotta
Thank you,
be
guys.
committed to making it work. And it'll be a struggle, you know. Don't get any expectations out there. You're going to be able to light up your broadband tomorrow, or a year from now, or 2 years. These things take a long time.
Exciting
and,
though. It's good. It's
But
awesome.
making any progress would be, wonderful from my point of view. So, having a plan is the first step. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Stephen. Good to see you.
We say goodbye. Yeah, it's good to see you again. Some of the familiar faces. I wish you all well there in Jamaica, and tell all my friends and enemies I still love them out there. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Betsy.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Super. I guess the next item and moving up, just because there's some others on the call here as far as opening the bids. We had two bid estimates go out, or two RFQs go out for bids. One of them was for mowing of our cemeteries, which we'll get to later, but we do have some representatives on the call here, or at least one from All States Asphalt. And so we will open up those bids. And this is kind of an interesting process too. I've got all the envelopes here. Terry had put out there, and hopefully everybody had a chance to grab our bidders kind of estimate sheet, I guess. But if not, it's fairly simple. Did everybody get a chance to see that or get that? I mean, it's just a spreadsheet.
Was it out on the share? I didn't see it. And the spreadsheet I saw out there was blank.
Was
Okay.
blank, same.
Okay,
Yeah,
well, it is, I can
so-
recreate it. I mean, if everybody has a scrap piece of paper, it wasn't all too complicated. More or less, there's 4 bidders. We've received 4 bids from Allstate Asphalt, Pike Industries, Sunapee Paving, and Basin Brothers. And on the estimate, I don't have a form in front of me, but on the RFQ, we were looking for 2, and Terry, jump in if I miss something. We were looking for 2 numbers, basically, paving per ton and the reclaiming price for asphalt that was going to be reused. And we're looking at 2 projects here. We're looking at a South Hill Road and Pikes Falls. So Terry, I'll let you jump on to a little bit more.
And Wyndham Hill
And
Road.
Wyndham Hill, a little section up there too. Yep.
So the reclaiming is just a square yard price. So each bid should have 2 different prices, 1 per ton for the paving and 1 square yard for the reclaiming.
Okay, so I'm going to open up those and I will read anything extra that's in their cover letter or whatever. And then also read through the bid form or the estimate form. And I'm probably not getting all the right terminology here, but the first one I'll start with, I'm sorry, F. Aldrich, I'm sorry, that's all I see on my screen, and I missed your first name because you had mentioned you're from Allstate, so I'm going to start with.
It's Fred Aldridge from Allstate.
Okay.
Yep.
So Allstate, nice big envelope, perfect. This is kind of odd. I've never done a bid session remotely. So within here, we have a cover letter. Dear Madam Sir, we are pleased to submit the following proposal for the town of Jamaica paving bids. We guarantee that all materials and work done comply with the Vermont Agency of Transportation's 2018 standard specifications for construction, as well as those of the town of Jamaica. We hope the attached will permit our being of service to you. So within here is a copy of our RFQ and also our bid form, along with a list of references, a list of paving equipment that they use, previous work that they've done for neighboring towns. There's a number of different forms here. There's a certificate of insurance, which we also asked for. So I don't know if anybody has any questions on that, but I'll jump right off to the 2 numbers. The first one for the actual paving per ton, our estimated need is 9,200 tons, and they bid that at a price of $65 a ton. So that would be into the spreadsheet. That's what Terry had prepared, just so we could kind of lay everything out and kind of do apples to apples. And it was nice to have a bid form that consolidated that too.
Blank.
I'm sorry?
Did you say the one that I posted was blank, though?
Okay. Well, thank you for doing that. I picked up in the office.
I have it here.
Okay. All right. So
Go backwards.
yeah. So that was $65 a ton, and then the reclaimed price square yards was $1.75 for approximately or estimated 9,400 square yards. So Fred, did you want to add anything, comment to that, or?
No, I think I figured Fuller would be in I figured Fuller would be bidding this job too. I think they picked up Stratton just a little while ago and also Wyndham. So I'm surprised that Fuller wasn't out this one. But no, it's
Okay.
the nice easy haul up there, right up Route 30.
Okay, yep, that's always key. So super. All right. So the next one, just in order of how they were listed, that Terry had them listed here, was Pike Industries. And I'll find that one. So within the envelope here is a bid sheet and the certificate of insurance. They came in at $67.40 per ton. And the reclamation price was at $2 a square yard. Any questions on that one? That was a little bit more straightforward in the packet, at least. The next one was Sunapee Paving. And within that was our RFQ, along with the insurance certificate, and the price sheet is $74.83 per ton. So $74.83, and then $2.05 for the reclaiming square yards. And then the final one was from Basin Brothers. They're out of Westminster. I guess I should have been clear too, more clear. So let's see. So Allstate is out of Sunderland, Mass.
Also Winchester.
Oh, in Winchester. Okay, yep. Yeah, I see that you have a number of different locations. So
Yeah.
The Pike Industries, they are out of Wallingford. The Sunapee Paving is Claremont, New Hampshire. And then the final one here, Basin Brothers, they're out of Westminster, Vermont. And within their envelope, they have the insurance certificate and also the bid form. They are at $73.30 per ton and $2 for the square yards for the reclaiming. So I don't know if anybody has any comments on that or questions, or not that I have any answers, but
So quick question.
sure.
So that was the per square foot price. We had said in the RFP and in our meeting when we discussed it that we were going to consider some other maybe soft characteristics versus hard, if you want to use that expression. So are we doing that, or we're making a decision based exclusively on price?
Well, I think at that point, unfortunately, I think these had already gone out. These packets had already gone out as far as the timing. And if I remember right, I think timing was one of your key ones, right, that you brought up. And we talked about integrating that into a contract. I don't recall.
Were you talking about the amount of time that it's going to take them and when
And
they're
when they
going
would-
to do?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I did talk to a few of them about their timelines, and I think it was going to become pretty difficult to give a firm timeline because of plant closures, breakdowns, things like that were beyond their control. So, and that is not actually a normal request, I don't think, that they get, but Fred, if you want to chime in, you certainly can.
Yeah, most of them say end of September, September 30th, 1st of October, last few days of them. That's when you usually want to put down your top course because it is a thin lift. So you don't want the temperature up there in Jamaica is a lot cooler than Massachusetts. So
Right.
we need to get it down. I'm thinking well before September 30th.
And
That would be my, you should always put a completion date on these. And I think you may have one in here. I'd have to look back.
The completion
Yes,
date
there
was
was.
definitely in there. I think it was more specific as far as length of time, maybe.
Yeah, usually we go there, we stay right there, we get the job done.
Didn't we have a 30 September date on it?
Yes.
Yes, we
Is that what
did.
it is? Yeah, I thought so.
Are all the bids for the exact same work?
Kind of. What was that, Andy? You're little.
Are all the request for quotes or whatever. They're exactly the same, right, for the work to be done.
If I'm under, you're a little
Not
muffled.
money-wise, I mean the work itself.
Still a little muffled. I'm not,
Every one of the bids is for the same exact work.
right, exactly. There is a bid form that very
Okay.
specifically says how much tonnage and of what type of material. And the V-Trans, basically, it's the state standards as far as the road course
Right.
work goes. Does that answer the question? Yeah.
Yes, and what does, what, Aldrich, what does he think about the plants? Are they even open yet? Are you guys expecting to be delayed in general?
No,
or-
we're actually a little light this year. We usually get the New Hampshire DOT District 4 resurfacing contract, which is anywhere from Claremont to Milford to the Hinsdale on Mass Vermont borders. So we didn't get that contract. So this year we're chasing after all the towns. So right now I have 40,000 ton on the books, and I'm looking for a lot more than that. I'd like to do 100,000 in 1 year. So we definitely, this one fit right in there nicely. I'm thinking right now, based on my schedule, what I have scheduled, I'm out to the middle of July. So I'd be looking probably late July, early August.
Thank you.
Yeah, Paul.
I have a question, and it just came up today at noon about this issue of out-of-state contracts. And the discussion with Phil Scott and a couple of other people, ACCP and some others, ACCD rather, was how they're managing out-of-state contractors coming in to do long-term projects. And the discussion went back and forth, and the ultimate last line of that discussion was that they would expect to have the employees of a construction company, specifically they were talking about something happening on Route 11 apparently, to come into the state and stay there to get the job done instead of going back and forth as a commissioner. I mean, as a commuter. Jessica, you're nodding. Did you hear that comment today?
Yes, I did.
How
Yes,
did
I
you hear
did.
that?
I did, but it's not implemented in an addendum yet, I don't believe. I haven't had a chance to look at what was promulgated, but I agree. By the time this project is done, that could very well be a requirement.
So that may be a concern if there are people who don't want to come in here and spend 14 days sitting in a motel before they can actually get out and start work. And that's brand new. That I just got today at noon. I apologize. That wasn't something we could build into this. I had no idea.
The governor also kept saying over and over again that we don't know what's going to happen day to day.
Andy,
So,
I'm not hearing you, Andy.
to project that further out, I mean, can you hear me?
Nope. Come to your right a little bit. That worked better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now try it.
Okay. I don't know where the speaker is on this thing.
No, it's the microphone you're aiming for, not the speaker. There you go. That's better.
The governor did keep saying that, we don't really know how this thing is going to go, and that, we can't project a couple of months down the road. There might be nothing going on, or, we might have to pull back on some of on the guidelines. But he kept going back to, we didn't want to get too far ahead of ourselves on guessing about what might happen and what might not. But I did hear that about Route 11 also. None of this is being enforced. It's all guidelines, sort of. So.
Well, I think one of the advantages of it, I mean, it's not being enforced because people are adhering to the guidelines. As quickly as the guidelines go down the toilet, I think the enforcement action may come up.
I hope not.
Mhm.
It's a good question to ask, if it turns out that that or something similar is implemented by the state of Vermont, could a bidder utilize local labor, or could they accommodate keeping, the crew residing for some period of time while these 3 projects are completed?
A lot of
A few of our employees are Vermonters too. We have like a couple from Mass, a couple from New Hampshire, I think 3 of them from Vermont.
And the other side of this is if these guidelines or recommendations, executive orders, et cetera, move out further, there's always the possibility of, pushing the actual work out further, before we get to September at least.
I believe part of the conversation was that the governor's going to continue the emergency declaration, but relax the stay-at-home order, which sort of colors it one way, depending on which order you're looking at. It's unclear and probably won't be any more clear, at least until the end of the week, when he was promising to make some more specific proposals on Friday. Is that the way you read that today?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, do we feel that,
I
don't know if there's do we feel that we want to push off on making a decision, or do we feel comfortable we make the decision and then work with it, a month from now when it's ready to roll, or 2 months from now, or whatever?
My thought about this as this was developing was the ground is moving underfoot. I think it's unfair for us to ask for proposals from a company when something is dramatic as a requirement to use Vermont labor, for example, or to come in for 14 days before you start work. That seems unfair to the contractor to have to build that into his bid, and nobody knew about that until
Right.
just now.
Unfair, probably super impractical.
Well, I'll give a slight counterpoint, which is that bids are being, proposals are being issued, bids are being awarded, and typically contract boilerplate requires compliance with law in completing the work. So there is a risk that's being undertaken by vendors that they're going to have to figure out a way to comply with law. And there are also slightly amended force majeure provisions that are being typically adopted, so that the purchaser of a service or a good, actually both sides, are protected in the context of this pandemic. So I don't think I'm not going to say that it's that we can't award a bid, and then just make sure the contract reflects the reality of today, as most contracts and even arguably there are elements of Vermont law that read terms into contracts that would accommodate such as compliance with law. So I'm whether or not we go ahead with it or not, I don't think from a legal perspective we are inhibited completely from awarding the bid if that it's a risk that both sides are taking, but the contract can accommodate that.
Let me ask Fred a question.
Sure.
Fred, as a contractor, would another delay of us making a decision, say for till the next select board meeting as an example, screw up your time to get the job done very much?
Not at all. No, there's just this week, I have 4 bids that are due. So I like to know ahead of time what I'm looking at for my schedule, just because of the size of these contracts that are coming out this week. A couple of them are over in Milford, New Hampshire. One's in Amherst, quite a ways the opposite way than Jamaica. So when I schedule my trucking and stuff, I kind of we already have Reedsboro, we have Whitingham, we have Vernon, Vermont. When I go to those, I want to kind of schedule that with the Jamaica job. So because of the truck, if you get 10 trucks all in one day, you want to keep them on for 3 or 4 weeks. It's awful nice for the truck drivers to stay with us. It's harder when you go local than you go long distance and local. So that's why it does make a difference if we get this or not, because it dictates my bidding from the next 2 weeks.
Greg?
Yes.
I'd like to make a suggestion, and then we can see if we want to bother with a vote. I've got a telephone conference with the state on Thursday. Between now and then, we should get some written guidelines. If not, perhaps I can put it to the people on the state call to ask the specific question, because it would seem to me to complicate things. If not, I don't have any problem so much awarding it as I just seem like it's unfair to the contractor to be bidding on something. Now I understand, first of all, it just heartens me to think of our governor as force majeure, but I understand the concept. But having said that, we're asking them to bid, and they have 2 sets of state laws they're going to have to adhere to, plus all the international compacts and all the other kinds of interstate. I don't know that that's a problem or not. Fred says it's not a problem. Maybe that would be the way to go. But
Yeah,
that's
well,
a thought.
I think to take that kind of that advisement along with what Jessica said and integrate those concerns and integrate what you learn on Thursday into a contract is how I kind of see it. And maybe it's already in the contract or in a contract. It's built in, and that we still move forward with making a decision. And it's going to be 2 months down the road that we're actually getting the work done anyways. And so things are going to change so much by then that it's hard to figure it out between now and Thursday.
Is there a provision in the bid request that gives either or both parties a faultless bailout position? Or you don't have to find fault. You can bail for no apparent reason. That this reason would be sufficient for them to say, sorry, we can't possibly meet our bid as we thought it was on 11th of May.
I don't have the whole bid memorized to the extent of knowing that.
Do you mean, can the bidder withdraw their bid?
Yeah, once we've accepted it.
Or once we have a contract that one or either of us could get out of it based on.
Well, we have a bid. We don't have a contract yet. We have a bid.
Let's say
Right. The parties are not bound until they sign a contract.
There we go. And that could be
once
a
we
couple
sign the
weeks.
contract, I thought is what you were asking, whether or not we can, but that's all going to be built into the contract. So.
Now it is.
Yeah. Andy.
I wrote it down, but who was the lowest bidder? Is that what we're going? If we were to decide, who was it?
It was the lowest that I showed.
All states.
All states was the lowest in both categories.
Correct.
And from, I mean, I don't know specifically these companies, but they're all reputable companies that I know that exist out there. It's not somebody just started up. So I don't think we have to worry that there should be other aspects of the bid that, unknown aspects that we're not dealing with the company who's going to be able to commit to it.
I as a board member, I might be in the minority, but I'd move we accept that low bid.
I'll throw a second out.
Not 2 weeks from now.
I'll second that. Jessica?
I say aye, but you haven't called for the vote yet. So.
Further discussion in there.
Further discussion. Yeah, I thought
quick.
it was further discussion that she had.
No.
Real quickly, remind me again where the other company's from. Basins, I know, is local.
Westminster.
Basins from Westminster.
Yeah.
And Pike and the other one.
So Pike actually is in Wallingford. I mean, I think they have a number of plants.
Mhm.
And then Sunapee is in Claremont, New Hampshire.
Okay, so 2 New Hampshire and 2 Vermont. All right.
What I don't like about it is Greg has seen them. We haven't seen the responses to the RFQs. So I know that you open them in the meeting, but we haven't had a chance to look at them.
Right.
So,
Well, that's
an intangible thing.
described. I mean, it's the form filled out. I mean, and 3 out of the 4, that's the only thing that was in there.
Okay.
It was a very structured. I mean, I understand that and what you're saying, but it was a very specific. What the item, the description and the itemization of what they was part of the RFQ. I mean, we certainly don't have to. Yeah, we certainly don't have to vote on it if that's a concern. I mean, it's obviously a different time of different time that we're doing these things remotely. So.
Yeah, of course. I'm just that's always my concern. That's been a pet peeve of mine in the past.
Yeah.
I like to look through things.
Well, point of order. We've got a motion on the table.
Yeah.
Yep. I will. Any further discussion? So Andy's made a motion to accept the lowest bid, which is from Allstate Asphalts, which has been seconded by myself. All in favor? Aye. I've got 5. So unanimous decision to accept that. Any opposed? There are obviously none.
Obviously, Fred, you made a good impression.
Yeah, no, I think we did. I'm pretty sure you'll see a nice job out there.
Yeah,
This
well,
is-
thank you. And of course, we'll still be working on the contract and some of these things is best between both of us. We'll try to work them in. I'm sure there's a lot of question marks in your world, just as in ours.
Oh, yes, definitely. Everything's delayed this year, so.
Fred, have you seen anything about what I was talking about, that the state wants contractors to be in the state for the duration?
No, I've heard a few things, but I haven't seen it yet, no. I know we've had a couple of our employees we usually hire back was talking about that, staying at home for the 14-day quarantine. If they come back to work, then they have to go, then they can't leave the state of Vermont, or they have to stay back. So they didn't mention it, but nothing's really came of it. Especially now that everything's relaxed, all the states are opening up, so.
Is New Hampshire also beginning to start the relaxation process the way Vermont
Yes.
is, in little pieces?
Yeah,
Yes, they are.
yes.
Okay.
They're in a little more trouble than we are.
Their stay-at-home order goes through the 31st of May,
Does it?
but they've relaxed, like state parks and golf courses, a lot of what other states similarly have done. So
This is probably going to work out just fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Paul, if you could, kind of keep us apprised of what you learn on the call, and then we can integrate that if we need to, as far as into the contract or into our timing of this, if we need to push it out further into the summer.
Right.
I'll do that. I'll see if there's anybody else concerned. It's actually the emergencies management thing, but it is with state reps who have these kinds of things in their bailiwick. So let's see what I can find out.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Fred.
Yes, you're welcome.
thank you, Fred.
Yeah.
Take care.
You want me to-
Okay. So next item. Trying to find myself on the next item we had was I don't know if I want to change. I was going to do the other bid right now, but let's stick to the order, I suppose. Was updates and discussion regarding COVID-19, and this has been kind of a standard item on our list, obviously with everything, but just to see what kind of thoughts are going on, any community issues that need to be brought up, if anybody's hearing anything, any office issues as far as operations go, or anything like that. So,
Just
Anybody
an
have any-
observance,
and Andy, go ahead. Yep. And I'll get you, Sarah, next.
State Park has a whole bunch of no parking signs all around their pavement now. Inside, they
Yeah.
weren't there the other day.
Yep.
I don't know what that's all about. No parking in there. I don't know if somebody blocked their access but and just another observance was the other day, I stopped counting at about 25 cars. I think that's part of the reason, if I had to guess, that there's so many cars parked in there that they couldn't get into their, to get to the dam or whatever if they had to.
Yeah. I know.
It's an observance. I'm not complaining or anything. It's just, I don't know who put those signs in. I imagine the state of Vermont. They're not, they're the ones you buy in the hardware store. So
And I know I've heard some of those same comments as far as parking, and I've seen other locations use the parking aspects of their facilities in an attempt to limit the usage. And I did notice somebody in the state park building today. So I just drove through there, did the loop, and saw somebody in the building. Maybe they're just gearing up for operations, and that was one of their first steps, but I don't know the answer either to that. I guess,
On that general topic, after our conversation we had before, we did bring this topic of, transient usage of State Park, and then the down at the Newfane line, up at the Emergency Operations Center meeting we had, and it turned up on other reports throughout the state. So the state police are taking a look at that sort of stuff down there, and they're beginning to take some notice of what's going on across the state. Nothing was really done, but be aware that that is an issue that has risen at least to the state level now after our conversations about it.
Yeah,
down
and I
the
think
border.
we've kind of had a harmonic convergence, obviously, of a lot of people wanting to get outdoors, but also we've had, you know, other than this past Saturday, but we've had some really good lineup of weather with days when people can get outdoors, and it's just put a stress on all these outdoor locations. I think, I mean, my take, it seems like there's a lot of people paying attention to it. I don't know if we want to pass any comments back up to the state. It seems like they're concerned and aware of this taking place at a lot of different locations. I know it came up last week, at least in one of the press conferences with the governor, with their outdoor person. I don't know their title, but they're definitely aware of these things. So I saw, Sarah, your hand up there too. I think the other aspect of what we're talking about is our outdoor opening up, but then we're also talking about our office and all the other, you know, people that work for the town, the road crew and the office crew and things like that. So Sarah, you had a comment.
My only concern is the lack of cleaning supplies. I tried to make my own like Clorox wipes, and it was like wet paper, toilet paper.
Okay.
So that's kind of my only concern is you can't get disinfectant wipe stuff anywhere, and you can't spray bleach on the copier in the books, and so that's my only concern.
No, very, very valid concern, and certainly as we start to, you know, make appointments for more people into the office and things like that, and something we need to address. I don't know if the vendors, I don't know where you typically, I guess obviously Staples and everywhere else you go look, you can't find this stuff where we normally get it, but
So restaurant supply stores still have, and in fact, I happen to have it. They are still carrying the tablets that you can dissolve in a spray bottle. That is it's a sterilizer, and it's actually used for food services. And it meets the CDC requirements. So for the time being, Sarah, I can bring over tomorrow, at least for now, a container that has a sterilizer.
What is it? TSP?
I can go down to my kitchen. I have it. I took it from the house, not just for the bakery, but for the house. I can show it to you. It's these tablets that you dissolve.
Trisodium phosphate, probably. Yeah, that's food grade. I have a can of Lysol I can bring up to town too. I got a couple of them at Walgreens last week or 2 weeks ago. I can bring one up if you can use that.
Okay. There's really no way to fill a bucket in the office because the only sink we have is in the restroom. If it's a small bucket, we could do it, but it's just a hand sink. And like I said, I can't spray the copier down. I can't spray the land record books down. I need to just wipe them with a wipe.
Right, but you could spray the wipe, right? That's how I do it. I spray the wipe, or you're not comfortable with that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to break the copier, but yeah, I mean, that's what I've been doing, like with the fixtures and handles and light switches and everything else, is spraying the paper towel and wiping it down.
Right.
Like, I get that. But yeah, I can do it on the copier too. Hopefully it's fine.
Yeah, as long as it's probably not a direct spray, if it's into a towel or into
We need a new one anyways.
Okay, yeah, Paul.
Can I bring up something? We had a conversation the other day that probably we ought to be having with the select board about putting in a sneeze guard or a plexiglass barrier at the counter, so that when anybody has to work with someone who comes in for things that require some degree of intimacy, to the extent that you have to look at someone's signature for whatever things need to be done, exchange tokens, exchange checks, those kinds of things, to put in a plexiglass barrier with maybe 4 inches or so at the bottom. I think that might be, I think we're going to be looking at some major changes in how we do things for a long time to come. This seems like an investment now that'll pay off for quite some time, because I think that this is not going to go away in a couple of weeks or a couple of months. I just thought the idea of that sneeze guard, or whatever you want to call it, seemed like a pretty good. It's not perfect, but it keeps the people at the counter protected from each other, and I think that might be helpful.
Right. Yeah, because there's definitely going to be. I mean, we need to continue our operations, and we're going to need to continue our safety methods here too. So, I think any one of those things, that makes sense to me. I mean, to have any kind of more restrictive areas around the office and around the people working there.
Terry, you had a thought.
I can't imagine plexiglassing this place in.
No,
there's so many big, and the counter is 4 feet wide. So all you got to do is stand a foot away on each side, and you're the 6 feet distance. I mean, it's not like you have a foot counter and you are 2 feet away from somebody.
Yeah.
I don't know how you would plexiglass. I'm just looking at the window because I'm sitting here at the office. It's a fairly large space. So are you going to plexiglass the whole thing in? But then we've got this big door opening that.
Well, it was more for the person standing there that was on one side of the counter versus, here somebody needs to notarize something. Somebody's handing a token or a check, and you're coming face to face, as opposed to, that I think we're obviously not going to fence in or box in the whole office.
Well, I would think you just hang it, right? You just have some hooks and hang a piece down that would kind of be free floating.
That's one way. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cheap way.
But
and
just enough so that there is a sufficient barrier between the customer and whoever's working at the counter.
Yeah, and if it's hung there, then you can always remove it too. I mean, when
that's why that's the easiest way. It's removable. No, there's nothing permanent.
Yeah.
So I would recommend that if that's something that we want to talk about.
Yeah, I think it makes sense as far as, I mean, I think any little piece of what we can do to make it safer for people that work at the office, coming into the office, and if it's easy to do, I'd say do it. But
I think we're going to be faced, I think, in the next week or so with the state's going to pull a lot of the restrictions off, and people are going to be expecting us to be open a little bit more than we have been. If we can just start kind of preemptively putting up the kinds of barriers that are helpful to us at our pace, we'll be a little bit ahead of the mandated stuff, and I think it'll be smoother for everybody, because I really think this is going to go on for a long time.
Right, and it is going to open up more and more, and like I think the word you just said, the expectations is people are going to expect that they can walk in the office and still have them limited to where they can come into, have them cordoned off and plexiglass in place.
And the other beautiful thing about that sneeze guard is they're all over the place. McDonald's and Walmart and everybody else, all the grocery stores are doing that. So it's at the point now where it's sort of the expected kind of way to do commerce right now.
So what's the process? Do we vote on it? Do we just say, because it's not going to be a large expenditure? We
don't think it's going to cost more than a couple $100, so therefore we can do that without having to go into a vote, because it's within the purchase of the
who's going to get a vendor, who's going to get a contractor to do it.
Well, if you want, I can go find out what plexiglass costs and how much it's going to cost to hang it. It may not be a big deal.
Okay.
And I think we kind of brought in, and I know I always throw this out there as far as an agenda item, just to get some, it's not an official vote necessarily, but we're gathering information, we're getting different thoughts, because we need to, need to keep moving forward and need to open up the office probably a little bit more each week or every other week. And it's baby steps, and make sure that we're following the baby steps that everybody's comfortable with.
Okay.
So I'll find out what it costs.
Vote, yeah, Andy.
Probably not a big deal, but how long do you think we're going to go without selling dog licenses? Is there any idea when we're going to start that again, or is that's not a big?
I think
are we doing dog licenses now?
I think it was just delayed, right? We just gave people more time to do them. End of May.
Okay. Oh, no, I didn't.
I've just been doing them through the mail,
Okay,
So we're still.
so you can just
doing
send me a
that, yeah.
check and I'll send you
right.
your dog
we-
license.
With a copy of the rabies certificate, probably, for my dog.
Yeah, and I believe
Yeah, if we don't have a current one on file.
Oh, sorry.
No, he's
Our vote was to delay them. to
He's
delay
expired. The reason I'm asking too is the vets are going, it's really hard to get to a vet now. It's, you know, like it is to see a doctor. So I imagine people will be having some trouble if their pets need rabies shot, their dog needs a rabies shot, but I don't think it's a huge amount of income as much as a safety precaution.
Yeah, I mean, we did vote to extend it till June 1st. We
Okay, I
won't,
couldn't remember.
do we want to have a vote to extend it further?
No, I was just curious.
Yeah, no, it's a good point.
it's
And I
fine.
wasn't even thinking about it from the vet side. We were thinking about it from our side.
Right.
I'm in favor of letting it just run its course and let it
Okay.
lapse unless something else comes up.
Right.
I
Yeah.
agree.
Makes
That's
sense to me
fine.
too.
Agree.
All right, so I will get the information on the plexiglass, and if it's anything more than $200, I'll get in touch with everybody.
Okay. And then as of now, we're still in the operational mode where the door is closed. Terry and Sarah are taking alternate weeks off. We may, and I'll throw it out there. I mean, say, hey, both of you can be in the office and still stay in the operational mode where it's only by appointment and the door is still closed. I mean, it seems to be functioning I mean, people are getting done what needs to be done. I don't have any real thoughts on that other than slowly getting back to a normal operation would be our main objective. But we want to be safe about the whole thing too. I don't know, Terry or Sarah, any thoughts on that? I mean, it kind of sounds strange coming from the boss. I mean, all of us are the bosses. To say, make it up and come in if you'd like. I think both of you in the office is practical because, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that gets done in there, but I don't want to push it too quickly either.
Did something change today to allow 2 people in the office though?
Something has actually changed even before today. Today, it did open up that even retail starting next Monday can have up to 25% of the capacity of the store in there. So as long as they're following the safe distancing guidelines and you know, we can set our rules as far as wearing a mask, and the same what we're talking about now is washing your hands before you enter the vault and those things. But we are allowed to have 2 or more, I mean, up to 5 people in the office.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. I didn't see the one today,
Yeah.
so.
So I mean, that was, I don't know, it seems like there's one different every day, but I think we've been moving forward on the more cautious side than we need to be. And as long as we're staying functional and, you know, you guys are getting done what you need and you're feeling safe and the outside customers or whatever are feeling comfortable and getting done what they need, then we're okay.
Yeah, there certainly hasn't been anybody coming to the door, really. And if they are, they've called beforehand and said what they need. And then we just put it out there on the post and they can just drive in and pick it up. So,
yeah. And that all seems to be working. I mean, I would suggest that we still keep the door closed for now, and it's better to be safe, and it's working.
Judging from the sounds of the governor and the people in that area, we can anticipate that the lawyers are going to get busier, and the real estate thing is going to get busier in the next week or so too. So that might make a difference.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's keep everything the same, and Paul look into getting some what it takes to get just a temporary plexiglass shield in there.
Okay, we'll do that.
And everybody can we'll bring in more disinfectant. Okay, thank you. So I guess now we're actually on to reviewing the bid for the Town cemetery mowing. We got one bid in for that. I gotta just find it here in the pile for everything. The bid was from D&K Property Maintenance. And there's one sheet in here. And basically we had asked for, I mean, it's the spring cleanup and the mowing of the, I'm just finding the actual RFQ. So it was this spring cleaning and the mowing of 6 cemeteries, the Rossonville and East Jamaica 3 times a year from May to October, the South Hill, South Windham, Pikes Falls, and West Jamaica were 3 times a year. And we received one bid for that, broken out and itemized, spring cleanup, fall cleanup, and per mow cost for each of these cemeteries. The total was $5,000 for the season, was $1,300 for Rossonville, $1,200 for East Jamaica, $710 for South Hill, $1,000 for South Windham, $395 for Pikes Falls, and $395 for West Jamaica.
For a total of how much?
A total of $5,000.
5,000?
Let me see if I can find their bid from last year.
Last year.
I was just gonna ask you.
Yeah, and that was one thing I was thinking of this afternoon
Yeah.
too.
Damodin, or is it Damodin?
It is.
Yeah.
It's for D&Ks. Yeah. And they
Hey,
did
buddy.
do it last year.
Who's here?
I thought he was.
Look at Big Bear.
Dreyfus.
Wasn't there 2 last year? Didn't Ben Lowe try to get into?
I think it was 2 years ago where we weren't very specific in the bid request, and they were all bid on independently.
Right, that's right. We had to figure
And
out.
then
Yeah.
last year they were bid on together. This does say in here in the bid, it says note that the bid reflects D&K's being awarded the entire bid. And that's how we quoted it too.
Right.
And that, you said 5,000 total, correct?
Yes.
So that's the same as what they bid last year.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Well,
Believe it.
All right. I'll make a motion to accept the bid for D&K's property maintenance for the cemeteries, to mow the cemeteries and caretaking the cemeteries.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Further discussion?
Any further discussions? Yes. Paul, thank you.
I thought
You
that,
can remind me.
that's what, hey, Tom reminded me for the last bunch of years.
Wait.
I thought that he specifically said that he wasn't going to do it for the last year's price, and that's why we had to go out to bid. Wasn't that your understanding, Terry?
No,
No?
it has to go out to bid because it's such an amount of money.
Yeah, but I just thought he was not, I mean, he was, all right, never mind. If he says 5K, that's what it was last year, I'm in favor of it.
No,
Okay.
we've put it out to bid every year for the last probably 4 or 5 years.
Okay, I just got my memory has him making comments that what he got paid before wasn't worth his time or whatever.
He didn't want the cemeteries, he didn't want to get just some of them. He either
Right.
wanted all of them or
I
none
see.
of them.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And that's a proviso he put in this bid, right?
And it was in there last year.
In there, yes, yep.
Okay, all right.
Okay. All in favor of accepting D&K as the cemetery mowing contractor? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. That's unanimous. Thank you. Okay. Next item, just an update, quick update on the RFQ for the trash hauling. That has gone out. We, at our last meeting, we decided to extend that to, I can't remember the bid date deadline, but prior to our next meeting, or not our next meeting, but our first meeting in June. I have spoken with Casella, and they have sent a 1-month contract extension to cover us for the month of June. So we're basically taking that 3-month extension and extending it 1 more month. Upside, that gives us a little bit of time to accept and review new quotes, and also kind of lines it with our fiscal year too. So that's a good thing. So that's an update on that.
Okay.
The item, we're on to the original item 10. I don't know what it is now, but review and approve the road standards.
Wait, before you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, back on the trash. Tom sent a letter out. I got a copy of it. A couple of others did, regarding the issue of bags and trash. You want to talk about that now or later?
Yeah. Well, I received it from a resident in town about our plastic bags. Now, the law that I understand, basically in 2014, said that towns now need to charge for the amount people throw away. So there's different ways to approach it. You could get a scale, you could weigh the garbage, you could get bags. Bags seems to be the easiest. But the townsperson was concerned that the bags are not compostable, and it's a lot of plastic we're using, and just wanted us to take a look at different options and think about, is this the right way we want to do it, or is there other ways to do it that would be more environmental? Obviously, if you have a scale and Dan has to weigh everything, it's going to slow everything down, and it's going to cost a lot more money, potentially to have all that running. So, I mean, those other things to look at from that side. I don't know where we get the bags, but is there a possibility that we could get compostable bags? And it might raise the cost a little bit. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out.
Yeah.
I can ask them, but the problem is I just ordered bags.
Okay.
They're more expensive. Remember we brought some up for, they were for compost. And I brought some back to the meeting. I think they're $4 a bag. But anyway, if we're going to discuss this, I think it should be at least an agenda item where there's a lot more people know about that we're going to be talking about this, because this is like a huge change in the middle of a pandemic. News flash, I guess, for us. But and another thing, it was a lot of work. I'm not saying that, I'm not closed-minded to this, but it was a lot of work to get to where we are now. I don't know what Wyndham Solid Waste District does with the bags, but I couldn't imagine trying to tell everyone in town we're gonna use barrels or do things differently, especially right now. I'm sure we could talk about it, but
well, I think
I was in on all of that transition and then bear in mind on July 1st, we're supposed to be composting 100%. And I'm telling you right now, I don't compost. I haven't started yet. I guess I better hurry up. But we're going to have a lot of there's going to be garbage still coming into the transfer station. It's a tall order that I don't know now if they will enforce that. Greg might know a little more about it than me, but I think the state of Vermont's got other things on their mind right now.
I thought, Andy, they had delayed that now because of the pandemic.
I don't know if they're clear on that.
Yeah, I haven't seen.
They never enforced it anyway.
Right. I don't think they've delayed it.
I don't think so either. There's been discussion of delaying it, and right now it kind of fits in with the other mandatory recycling of other products. It's called mandatory,
right?
But there's nobody out there policing it. It really is just saying you're not gonna pay for it is really what it boils down to, because it's free recycling or free food scraps or something. I think that the point that the concerned person brought up about the plastic bags is well worth looking into. And like you said, Andy, we're not going to decide it right now. Bob from Wyndham Solid Waste just happened to be in the office today, and we bounced a few questions off of him, but not every single question, about other towns that might be doing something different and what our other options are. It's not something that we change overnight, that's for sure. And these bags are, I think one of the concerns that may have been kind of hidden in this request to look into it was that these bags, they're right now on July 1st is slated to be a ban on single-use bags. These bags don't fall into that, even though they're technically single-use. They're not under the definition. I mean, they're a heavier gauge and they're not used for the grocery stores and et cetera. So it's not a legal aspect that we have to get rid of them, but from an environmental consciousness side, we maybe should look at alternatives, but I don't know what those are.
Can I just say that in Wardsboro, we don't use bags. I mean, we do use bags, but we have stickers that we have to buy, and that's our pay as you throw. But they go on a garbage bag, so you're still using the plastic no matter what, the bag. And in Stratton, they use a punch card. You buy a punch card, but the bag still has garbage in it. You still.
Same in Londonderry. They do a punch card.
Yeah. So no matter, unless you're gonna weigh it and just throw it in there, it seems like there's, no matter which way you go, there's always gonna be a bag. Now, I will say, using our bags, now you got 2 bags, because a lot of people put their bag in the bag. So
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Or it's 5 bags in a bag.
Well, that too. Yeah.
The other thing too is if we did get stickers or something like that, then if someone wanted to use compostable bags and spend the extra money on that, they'd have the choice to do that. So just idea to throw out.
And stickers take up a lot less room here than cases of bags do, for sure. But
yeah,
like I said, I just ordered the green bag, so.
That's okay.
Well, any change we would want to deplete our store, obviously, and then do a transition. So, but I agree with Andy. We should put it on the agenda so that we could potentially get more townspeople input.
Yeah, and I'd like to also include in that, and it's something I've been thinking about, and Dan's pointed out on a few things. There are some of our pricing right now is a little bit out of line with what the costs are to get rid of it. I mean, one that comes immediately to mind is refrigeration. We used to have somebody come and take that away at no charge. Right now, they're charging us $10 per refrigerator, and we charge $12. We're still not losing money on it, but that's just one example of a lot of our cost or pricing at the transfer station hasn't changed in 10 years.
Right.
And then in conjunction with reevaluating the contract and things like that, it's a bigger picture that we should probably be looking at the whole thing. Maybe put it out there on the agenda for into July or so, once we got our new cost structure for our hauler, just to make sure everything else lines up within that.
Yes, I agree.
I can't speak for all the contractors, but they, I shouldn't maybe phrase it this way, but I don't think that they would be too alarmed if things went up a little bit, especially in the demo, the construction, and then they would be grateful to still have that, that we offer that service for a little more money.
Right. I agreed. Yeah.
Myself included.
Yep. Okay. Well, maybe we'll put that on there as an item for review in a little bit later on this summer.
Okay, that sounds good.
Thanks. Good point. So on to the reviewing of the road standards. These, hopefully everybody had a chance to. They were out there as far as the document goes. This is something that the state requires us to sign off on every year. They publish a set of road standards, and we basically certify that we're going to adhere to those standards. I think that's what it boils down to.
And we get more money in a disaster.
Right.
Eligible.
Yeah. This is one of the rules and how they hold our feet over the flame.
Right. I had 2 quick questions. One was, there's a reference to an inventory of roads. Do we have that?
We do.
Yeah, it's right here on the wall. I mean,
Have it, but it's there.
Yeah.
In the town clerk.
Yeah.
Okay, terrific. And then just, you might know this, Terry. Do we feel, how far off does the road crew think we are from these standards? Or do we feel like we're pretty, there's actually some wiggle room. I read them, and it does refer to feasibility. But I'm just curious, do we know, are we generally in compliance with these standards?
I think generally we are. I'm sure there's places in town where, the forgotten corners or whatever, but I think generally we
Is that
are.
at your house, Terry?
My house?
Is your house the forgotten corner? No,
Yeah.
just
Except I don't live here, but. And the other thing is that when, if for instance, somebody had a private road that they wanted to make a public road and the town maintain it, then they would have to go by these standards. And that's one of the biggest points of having these road standards. Not as big as getting more money in a disaster, but the reason to have these standards every year is so that somebody, if they came along and wanted their road taken care of by the town, they would have to upgrade it if it was a cow path or something like that. So.
got it.
Okay, I will take a motion to accept the road standards.
So moved.
Andy, thank you. A
Okay.
second, Tom? Any further discussion? All in favor of accepting the state-approved road standards, say aye.
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 Approved, unanimous, thank you.
So can I just ask, this is one of those things that can't be signed by one person. It has to be signed by every board member. So would the easiest thing be for me to send it out to each person to be signed, and then you can just send it back in the envelope that I give you to send it back? Or would it be easier for you to come to the door and sign it? I'm not really sure.
What's the time frame we have to get this done in?
Well, I mean, not within the next 2 days, but they do have to be signed because they have to go back with the financial plan.
Yeah,
So,
I didn't see a deadlines per se. I'm thinking it's fiscal year, right? The end of June, but I mean, it's.
yeah, probably. I mean,
I'm going to be in the office, so I can sign it. I'll be in
I
there.
can too. I can come over.
I'll swing
Okay.
by.
Same.
Yeah, easy enough for
I'll
me.
just call in advance and just
Yeah.
make sure it's a clear window.
okay. And
Yeah.
Paul, that'll give you an excuse to come to the office.
Yeah.
To measure. Oh, I was looking for an excuse to come to the
I
office.
know you are. That's why I said that.
I'm running out of them though.
Making it difficult for you.
Right.
I go by and blow the horn. Do you ever hear me do that? I go by the window, blow the horn, wave.
Oh, well, I'll have to pay more attention to
I
that.
don't know. Not allowed in the office anymore.
Yep. Well, you can make an appointment.
I know. I really wanted to. I know.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. I guess then the next item on the list, I'm going to do the overweight permit because I've got it scribbled in right in this spot, and I'm going to forget it if I don't do it right now. We do have one overweight permit since we're talking about roads. Came in from Cardinal Logistics Management Corporation. They're in Concord, North Carolina. Sounds like they're a big freight transport company. They have filled out their fleet form here. And I'm going to guess, Terry, that they've paid and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
They have. Okay. Anybody need any more
I'll make a motion to
information off of here?
Yeah, overweight permit from Cardinal Logistics Management Corporation out of Concord, North Carolina.
I second the motion.
Second, Jessica, thank you. Any further discussion?
Yes.
Paul?
Are we voting to give it to the road commissioner to
Yes.
sign?
Yes,
I
that's,
hear that
that's
part.
typical, right.
Yeah, because we didn't do that last time, but we should be giving it to the road commissioner to.
Okay, right. And that is what happened last time. So it's our same procedure. So
Sure.
all in favor of accepting the road permit? Thank you. I didn't, is that everybody? I think I was.
Yes.
Paul, you're in? Okay.
Yeah.
All in favor? Any opposed? No. Unanimous. Thank you. Next item was just an update on the town technology. It's another kind of catch basket, I guess, but Tom's been working a lot on updating the town website and the office network and things like that.
So the good news is the website has been up now for a couple of weeks and we haven't gotten hacked again. So I did end up purchasing the backup. We had to spend a little more money. It was, I said $299 a month. It's actually $499 a month because of the size of the website was 11 gigabytes and the $299 was only 5 gigabytes. So I had to go up to the next tier, but that's up and running. I've also gone in and done there were some links that were broken. Greg pointed out, like the agenda and the minutes on the main page on the quick links was broken. So I went in and fixed that up. I added years, kind of cleaned up some of the minutes. So I made years for 2018, 2019 to kind of just make it so it didn't look so cluttered. On the computer side, I've managed to upgrade all of the computers now to Windows 10. I still have 2 of them here. Lewis, that's the 2 listers machines. Micah's machine was upgraded. Barbara's machine was upgraded. I have an extra one here that's finished. I just have to bring it in. I also upgraded Lex's machine, but it was running really slow. So I bought another 4 gigs of memory. It'll be here Wednesday, and then I'll pop that in, and hopefully that helps because it was really, really, really slow, like unbearably slow. As far as the wireless network, I haven't really gotten started on it. Greg and I had a conversation when I went in and did a tour with Lou. I just think I still think we could go with this solution, but it may be some additional costs because just the way the wiring is set up in the office. I thought it was a little more robust, and it's not. So, you know, I have the equipment here. I can still return the equipment within 30 days to Amazon. What we have now is working, or I can move forward on it. So I just wanted to present that out to the board. I really leave it up to you. We may have to get Chris Clark in to pull some wires for us and stuff like that. We don't have drop ceilings, so that makes it a lot easier when you have drop ceilings, because then you just pop it up and pull the wire through. So it's a little more complicated just from a infrastructure standpoint of how things are set up. From a hardware standpoint, it's already, like I say, it's already bought. I can still set it up, but it's mainly in the placement of the access points. Where are we going to put these access points? Because we're going to have to get a wire to wherever we put them, and that could be a little challenging.
And what is the benefit of this act again?
Well, I mean, the benefit is it's manageable remotely. Gives us more insight into who's on our network, what kind of traffic's passing through our networks. So it's a little more advanced than what you're going to get with a consumer-based model.
This is what we approved at the last meeting, right?
Approved at the last meeting for 450-ish, and I'm pretty much on budget with that. It did come in under budget, but I have to still buy some cables and a charger for one of the devices. So it's going to be pretty 450.
Are we looking for approval to have Chris come in, suss it out, and give us a proposal?
That's probably the next step. I would have to talk to him, and I'm still thinking about what I can do. And you know, it's really, I need to come into the office and kind of brainstorm on it and say, where could I put the access points? It's going to make sense and potentially not have to run wires. You know, maybe we just get some of the plastic channel stuff that you put on the walls that covers up the wires. I mean, that because it's going to be in the ceiling. I don't know. Or we can just bag the whole thing.
I think we maybe need an estimate I mean, we discussed and decided that this was something we thought was worthwhile. Yeah. I'm not sure we can go backwards and send it back, but I think we need to go forwards and say how much, I mean, maybe get an estimate of what it might cost to pull some wires here and there, or best case scenario, you can find a location. I don't know the details of how you find a location, if it's possible or if it requires wires.
You want a central location, like you wouldn't want to put it right next to the vault per se, because the vault's going to block a lot of the signal. You want to kind of have it, like I would think it would be in the main office is where the wireless would be. That probably would cover the wireless, the second floor and over into the listers area. And then if we put the second access point in, we put it in the meeting room. And then that would cover the entire building there. So, that's
Tom, are you willing to continue to kind of pursue a resolution and
yeah, sure. Let me talk to Chris. Let me call him up, and and I'll go and meet him over one day. We'll let you know when, guys, when we're going to be there, and we'll just kind of look at things and see what he thinks. Because, you know, for him, it may be like, oh, I can do that in an hour and it's no big deal. And it's, you know, whatever he's charging now, 30, 40 bucks an hour, or a couple hours. So I would say probably it would only be a couple $100 more, but I just don't want it to be 500 more. And everyone goes, oh, now we spent $1,000 on all this stuff. What are we doing? So I just want to be transparent about where we're at, and that we could back out of this now still if we wanted to do so.
My thinking is, as the further we get into this Corona thing, we're going to be fighting the technology battles for months, if not years to come, based only on all the changes that are happening right now. My thinking is that we should move forward and drag ourselves kicking and screaming into the 21st century.
Okay.
Yeah, it makes sense. I would say have Chris look into it. I mean, and do that maybe before your 30 days is up, and just in case it's an unbelievable number. But
I will call him and meet with him. I'll have him come over this week. I'll call him tomorrow.
Thanks.
Wonderful. Yeah, thank you.
Technology. I'm trying to think if there was any other technology.
I think there was one other one that I wanted to throw out there. I know Lou brought it up because I think in this meeting we're using your license for Zoom.
Oh, the Zoom. That's right. Yeah.
Lou
So
brought
this
up to
license,
get a town one,
Zoom,
so
right?
the listeners could use it, and a few other whoever else from the town needed to do the meetings.
And it's what, $99 a year?
I don't even know.
There's different levels, I think, aren't there?
Yeah. I mean, a single license. Let me see what I can work on. I gotta meet with my sales rep anyway tomorrow. I have an email out to him, so I'll see if he handles. Yeah, a lot of times they just handle higher ed or whatever, but I'll figure out who's doing Vermont, and maybe we just buy it. I think it's $99 a year.
Yeah.
So, you know, from a standpoint of cost, it's not that much.
And I think it's into everything else we're talking about. And if the listeners may need it, and any other town organization, maybe not ultimate town organization, but any with, you know, the library or whoever might need this, I mean, it's better to have our own than.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. We shouldn't be using my account. Right.
Oh.
But that's fine. I mean, I'm willing to do it because we needed it, but okay.
And
So
I think
I will look into that. I will also look into the Zoom
budget
account
somewhere.
where that goes. And see what we can do for that.
Great.
Do we need to approve that $100 so that we shouldn't have to approve that?
I think that's, I don't think we need to approve it. I mean, if we're all in consensus on it, and it fits into our office supply budget type of thing.
Yeah. Okay. While I'm talking, I'm just going to also want to bring up the Jamaica Journal, which is the new online newsletter for Jamaica. The first issue came out May 1st, and Jackie Brown in town is the editor. And if you want to, shoot, she texted me. Hold on a second. So it's a monthly newsletter for residents and friends of Jamaica. First issue is online right now. If you want to submit content or to the next issue, you have to do that by the 20th of the month for the following month's newsletter. You just go to www.jamaicajournal.info. So the old issues are there. The new issues will be there. The old issues will be there, and there's information there to submit new content. So always looking for interesting things going on in town. If you go read the first one, it was very impressive in my opinion. I thought you just really covered all sorts of events, had some COVID links, had events around town, had a shout out to a student who wrote a poem. It's just a lot of interesting stuff, and it's really for the Jamaica community. So go and check it out.
Yeah, I liked it.
Yep.
Okay, thanks, Tom. Let's see, on to the next item. We're getting there. We're almost done. Throwing out there a decision on whether or not to hold our next meeting, which is typically, it's the fourth Monday, which lands on Labor Day, and in Memorial Day. Sorry, yep. And in the past, at least for the past few years, we have punted on having a meeting there and just left it open. If we needed to call one for an emergency, we would do that.
That sounds good.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to not have the meeting on May 25th, Memorial Day.
We don't have anything important pending, do we? Any other decisions?
I'll second that. Second.
Oh,
second by Andy, and then discussion to Paul. I don't know of anything, and having typically not had a meeting that day, refer back to what did we discuss last year. says we didn't discuss anything. So
And this meeting and the last meeting we covered a lot. So does
yeah, there's always there's always the option, I guess, if for some reason something unknown pops up, we can call an emergency meeting and just schedule it for that night. So
Sure. Okay, works for me.
so there is a motion and a second. All in favor of not having a meeting on May 25th, say aye.
Aye.
7 yeses and
I
so unanimous. Thank you.
Rich,
Just
get
have
that?
one other thing, and I throw this out on every meeting so far, is just a reminder again of the school district vote. Sarah's all ready to go with absentee ballots, so call for those. Sarah, anything to add? Yes, yay.
I spoke with the Secretary of State on Thursday, and they told me anyone who had requested a ballot already, I could send another one to. So I did that today. So if you'd requested one before and done one, you'll get another one in the mail this week.
I got mine yet today.
Perfect.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
Um,
Any other comments, concerns, public?
concern, I've been taking walks up Warden Road. I was talking to you before the meeting. And they put a new culvert in at some point, and the old culvert's just sitting on the side of the road. And I'm curious if the town's gonna pick that up and get rid of it, because it's plastic. It's not like old metal ones that would rust away or whatever. It's just sitting there. And it's ugly, and it's like you're in the middle of the woods, and all of a sudden there's just all this plastic on the side of the road.
Yeah, that
broken up.
in my mind shouldn't be there. So I'll bring that up with Keith, or
Thank you.
point it out to Keith.
I mean, I
Anderson.
just go in the back of a truck, bring it down to the town garage.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not even, but I'm just bringing that up.
Good observation.
Thank you.
one quick thing, Greg, I think I'd mentioned to you that I'll raise, and we're getting up to 2 hours, so I'm going to go really quickly. But there was a reference earlier to the $1.5 billion available and COVID-related relief. We received a kind of a referral or a note of interest from Dufresne Group around the fact that since our village area is still struggling with the elements of public water permitting and wastewater permitting, part of the new statute and the new money within the state of Vermont will be allocated to towns that will be undertaking or be shovel ready for projects, infrastructure projects that in the long run will help the towns accommodate increased either second home ownership or even individuals who had been second homeowners spending more time in Vermont. So this type of, looking at potentially a wastewater project would fall, in the opinion of Dufresne Group, would fall within that. So this is just a quick note to say that the Planning Commission is looking at the feasibility, costs, size, and potential location of a wastewater solution, much lower cost, lower complexity than a water system for the town. But again, they're just at the looking phase, and just wanted to let everybody know that that's something that's being looked at. And before we get too close, temporally in time towards the point at which that COVID money would be allocated, it's the intention of the Planning Commission to have a dialogue with the select board and to potentially, put together a shovel-ready project.
Yeah, I think that's great. Yeah, and thank you for forwarding that to me too. And I think that, and you had mentioned that Chrissy is willing to help and act as an intermediary and a consultant off the record, so to speak, or whatever, to help guide us.
She said it to me in writing.
Yeah, and to have these options out there and have knowledge, it's maybe not a full fleshed out plan, but at least some options of what opportunities may be out there to grab some state funding and things like that. That's awesome. And I'm super psyched, and I'm glad that the Planning Commission is being engaged and I mean, they always have been, but I mean, it's great to have a relationship with them with our board here too.
Yep.
Thanks. And thank you, John, for sitting through a meeting with us.
And John actually was the person who sent that, but at the time he sent it to me and I forwarded it back out. So just to give credit where credit is due.
Yeah. Well, thanks.
I had it to only send to the host, so. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Oh, can I just ask a question?
Yeah, Andy.
Has anyone seen one of these meetings come up on SB Cable or whatever? One of our Jamaica meetings?
I've looked at them, yeah, because I post them. So yeah, I've
Did
looked
you
at them.
search it out, or have you seen it on the cable?
It's on the cable.
Okay.
No, I've seen it online. So I mean, it looks just like this.
Online.
Right.
Yeah.
Nope, I was just wondering, I'm up all hours, I haven't seen it, but, and I wanted to ask Rich, is BCTV, see any light at the end of the tunnel for, maybe filming, or taping things live again, or just waiting to see what shakes out?
The instruction I have so far is we are out another 6 weeks.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. Mm.
Just curious.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay.
Second. All in favor of adjourning? Aye. Yay.
Aye.
Hi.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks very much.
Greg,
Night.
Thanks, Sarah,
Bye.
Terry.
Night, everyone.
Good night.
Greg.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Terry. Thank you, Rich.